I'm Brian Jackson. Welcome to In Focus. My guest today is Don Owen, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum for the Urbana School District 116. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Brian. I'm excited to talk to you about what we're doing in the schools.
Okay. How did you become in the position you were in today?
Sure. I'll go back to my early beginnings. I moved to this community in 1989 and actually got my very first job as the site director of Wiley's after-school program, and worked there for about a half a year, and then did some subbing, and then got a job the next school year at Urbana Middle School as a history teacher, and taught 8th grade for about 12 years, and then moved into curriculum and staff development work for the district, and became director of staff development. And from there, I moved into this position as assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction.
You're going to be taking a big jump next year, taking the position of Superintendent Preston Williams, who is retiring. How's the transition been going?
Well, that's a great question. Yes, I'm very honored to be in this position and to have time for this transition work. And we're actually right now just in the process of kind of building a transition plan. We've been talking about it obviously for several months because the board appointed me earlier this spring. And the transition is going very well, and he and I both have some plans of kind of induction and mentoring things that he wants to accomplish, as well as things that I want to learn. And again, I'm very excited and honored to be in a position to take over as superintendent of Urbana Schools.
What are some of the programs, after-school programs, that are offered in the Urbana School District? What are some of the after school?
Yeah, well, the district has a kind of a separate entity that's called the After-School Child Care Program, ASCCP, that runs in 5 out of our 6 elementary schools. And then we also have a grant-based program that's run by the 21st Century Community Programs, I think is the name of the grant, the 21st Century Grant, which pays for what's called the SPLASH program, which is students playing and learning after school hours. And that's at Leal, the middle school and the high school. And so there are a variety of different after school programming options depending on what school your child is in, but every school has something to do after school.
But all of them do, all 6 elementary?
Yes.
Okay. Are they all different, or are they all pretty much the same?
The ASCCP is a child care program that is a fee-based program, and so parents pay. It's actually a very competitive rate. One of my kids was in it for 2 years, and it's a weekly charge. I don't remember exactly what it is. So that's a fee-based program. The others, though, are a combination of fee-based and kind of student scholarships because they're grant-funded. And so some students don't pay anything, others pay a small fee. And like the SPLASH program also offers like enrichment classes that are completely fee-based because it requires materials or field trips or that kind of thing that students pay for.
Tell us about the mentoring program. How long had that been going on, the mentoring program in the schools?
The CU one-to-one mentoring program has been around since the mid-90s, since I think it was 1994 when it was started. And actually the woman that kind of came up with this idea is Barbara Linder, who was a parent of Urbana students. She did a lot of volunteer work at Urbana Middle School while I was teaching there. And she came up with this idea that one of the things that she saw as a need was positive adult role models for some of our students. And so she went out and got some friends together, and it really started out as a volunteer effort that then we received a mentoring grant, a national mentoring grant, and that launched CU One-to-One that now covers both school districts, Urbana and Champaign. There are literally hundreds of mentor-mentee pairs that start at about, they start identifying students at about 3rd grade, and social workers and principals and teachers kind of nominate students saying this would be a good candidate. And Barbara Linder does a great job recruiting members of the community to work with those students, and a lot of those mentoring relationships stay together for many years. I was just at a banquet where about 8 of our mentees, the students, had summer internships at Carle Hospital, Health Alliance, and Horizon Hobby. And most of those mentee-mentor pairs had been together for over 6 years. And so it's a very positive program in our community.
Are they selected like a year ahead of time? Are they selected in the spring, or are they selected in the fall?
They're actually 2 different rounds. They do a fall selection and a spring selection, and there is training for the mentors, and then there's kind of a series of get-to-know-you activities for the mentor-mentees to make sure that they're paired well together. But it's actually an ongoing, so it's spring and fall trainings and pairings of mentors and mentees. So it's pretty much an ongoing activity.
Okay. Give us an update on how the work is going out at the Early Childhood Center out at near Prairie School. Tell us when that is expected to open, and do you have any idea how much the approximate cost of that is going to be?
Yeah. Well, let me first just say that it's amazing to see some of the projects that we've been able to do as a result of the 1% sales tax that the voters here passed a couple of years ago. And Early Childhood Project is one of the great examples. To be honest with you, I haven't driven by there in a week, and in a week a lot happens on that site. The last time I drove by, the walls were going up, and you could see the actual kind of exterior framing of the building. We're on a schedule to have that completed by May or June of next year, with a move-in over the summer, and then students will begin attending in August of 13. And so that's the timeline for that project. The cost of the project, I'm going to take a little guesstimate here. I know it's in our board records and our website, www.usd116.org, and you click under sales tax, facility sales tax projects, and it has all the numbers. I believe it was around a $10 to $11 million complete project, which includes an addition to Prairie, which is a gym that actually connects the 2 buildings. So the 2 buildings are going to be connected by a new gym for Prairie School.
I guess it would be a lot bigger than the one that they had at Washington.
Yes, it's a much larger facility in terms of square footage. It's all on one level, which for 3- and 4-year-old students, the stairs at Washington Early Childhood Center that they're currently in are a challenge. And Washington Early Childhood was built in the early 1900s. It's a beautiful building, but it's not really a functional building for an early childhood center. And this will be a state-of-the-art facility for early childhood education.
How is the progress going on the renovation of the Urbana High School Cobb Auditorium? What's the situation on that?
That's another one that I wish I could have been in this past week to give you a live update, but it's very exciting. The last time I was in, the orchestra pit was almost finalized. The people who have been in it before will be incredibly impressed, because we're trying to bring back some of the feel of the original 1914 auditorium, which used to have huge stained glass windows on each side. And what we're doing, because of the way the school has been built around the auditorium now, we don't have outside access to windows, but what we're doing is we're replacing those old window frames with new stained glass windows that are going to be backlit. So you get the sense of an old auditorium with these stained glass windows. And the new seats are arriving, I believe, in about a week and a half. It's going to have an orchestra pit and a new elevator access area to the stage and to the orchestra pit, so that you can bring in larger instruments, you can bring in a wider variety of acts, and then a lighting and sound system that's really state-of-the-art, that won't be hanging over people's heads the way the one in the latest renovation was. All of that catwalk stuff will be gone, and so it'll really make the auditorium look grand and majestic again.
Are there any plans to name the auditorium for somebody, or is it just going to be called the Urbana High School Auditorium?
To be honest with you, I have not heard of specific plans of naming the auditorium. Our board policy says that the naming of individual rooms and sites and structures is the work of the board, and the board would form a committee. And right now, there's not an active committee working on naming the auditorium. But my guess is that that's something that the board will probably talk about as the auditorium gets dedicated, which we're very hopeful. I'm going to knock on wood that the auditorium will be done for the beginning of the school year, which is just a few weeks away now.
I think they're going to have a open house on Saturday, July 28th.
That's exactly right. At 2 o'clock, there's going to be a dedication of a new plaque commemorating Joseph Royer, who's has the moniker of Urbana's architect. He's put together many buildings, and including the high school. And so the original 1914 high school was a Royer architect design. And there's going to be a plaque put outside on Race Street near the front entrance of the high school there, commemorating Royer. And at that ceremony at 2 o'clock, there's going to be, my understanding is, a barbershop quartet, a couple speakers, the mayor, and then after the formal dedication of the plaque, there are going to be tours, and people who are there can get to see the inside of the auditorium while it's still in its final stages of progress. So it's going to be an exciting event, and that's 2 p.m., and you had the date right. It's the 28th, which is Saturday. So hope to see a lot of people there.
But the chairs won't be, what type of chairs are they going to be again in the auditorium?
They're going to be a padded plush. I believe it's a maroon color. The color scheme was actually a decision that was made. The old chairs were orange and black, kind of going along with the tiger theme. But the new chairs are going to be a plush maroon, kind of going back to the 1900s, early 1920s, of what a true majestic theater looked like. And so the color scheme is kind of going back in history to take a look at that.
Okay, how has the progress gone? Last year, Urbana High School got the project was completed on the soccer field and on the football field.
Yep.
I bet you that cost a lot of money.
Yeah, and that was also partially funded by the 1% sales tax. There was also some life safety money that went into that because our bleachers were at the end of life. And so it was one of those projects that, the timing and everything just kind of came together at the right time to do something really big and beautiful with that. It's been gorgeous. The football season last season was great. We have amazing booster clubs that use that concession stand very well, and Friday night game nights at Urbana are a lot of fun. You may have seen a little bit of work still going on. There's still a few things that are still out there as ticket items that we haven't quite gotten fixed yet, and one of them, unfortunately, is an irrigation system that we're having to reinstall because there was some leaking after it was installed underneath the soccer field area. And so they're fixing that and getting that all ready for soccer season. But it's a beautiful facility, and we encourage people to come out and see it. It is also open to the public for track use, not on the fields, but if people want to come and walk the track, on the gate near the aquatic center, there are hours posted every week for when it's open to the public for track time. And so it's a great way to be on a state-of-the-art track facility.
Okay, tell us about the future work to be done at the elementary schools and what type of work is going to be done there.
Yep. Our Director of Facilities presented a 5-year plan. That's actually part of our 5-year strategic plan. He presented that to the Board of Education earlier this spring, and that includes kind of bringing all of the elementary schools, and we're not going to do this in 5 years, but it's kind of set out there that we're going to start in this next 5-year period, taking a look at which elementary schools get the same kind of renovation work that King and now Prairie is getting, with a new gym, a full multi-purpose room so that kids aren't eating in the same space that their gym is, because that reduces gym time and it also causes all kinds of other problems to the gym floors. So that's all online too as part of the 5-year plan.
Tell us a little bit about the students, I guess could be better said, involvement with the food drive at the middle school that has been held, and also with the disability show at Lincoln Square. Both of them were on the same day last year in October.
Yeah, and that I'm hoping that we're going to have a better scheduling of that in the future so that they don't overlap quite as much, so that people can get to both if they want to go to both. And I don't know, it may have worked out well in that sense, but a number of student groups at both the middle school and high school participated in the food drive. Urbana School District also tries to participate in the Disability Fair every year. We think it's a great event and a great, Urbana School District looks for a lot of ways to partner with community organizations. In fact, partnership with community organizations is also in our strategic plan, to provide services to our students and families to help them really achieve their own educational goals. And both events are very positive events for the community, and we plan on participating as best we can in the future as well.
Okay, tell us a little bit about the adult classes are offered, about what does adult education offer in terms of classes?
Yeah, adult education offers a wide variety of classes, from what they call their APL, or student high school student kind of recovery classes for students that aren't succeeding at high school or maybe have already dropped out. And that's not just Urbana, that they serve students from all over the county.
Right.
At that level, but then, and some of those students go on and get high school diplomas, and we had a great graduation ceremony that was broadcast on UPTV not that long ago for the graduates of the adult ed program. But then they also offer night classes that are kind of community classes that have a very low fee. I think the average is probably like $15 or $20 for several nights of classes. A wide variety of things, from cooking to craft projects to photography, digital photography, some computer classes, a wide variety of things. And adult education is another great kind of partnership that we have in our district.
Where are the classes held?
Most of the classes are held at Urbana High School. The night classes are, the ones that are open for the community. But some of them are also held at the Urbana Adult Education Center, which is right next to our central office building, our administrative services building on Ray Street in downtown Urbana.
Would you like to add anything else, Don?
Well, the only other big initiative that we have that we're very excited about this year is our new dual language program, which is for the bilingual Spanish-speaking students. We're transitioning the program a little bit because what we found was in the last 10 years, our Spanish-speaking student population has grown by over 400%. And it was outgrowing the space that it was in at Leal. And we either had to come up with a new plan to grow the program or move it out of Leal altogether. And so what we did is we split it across 2 buildings, Leal and Prairie, and we transitioned it from a bilingual program where students are first taught in Spanish and then transitioned into English to what's called a dual language program, where Spanish students are taught in both Spanish and English for their entire educational career, K through 5. And the exciting thing is we're actually having English-speaking parents enroll their students in the program so that their students can be bilingual as well. And we have about half of the students in those K1 classes at Leal and Prairie, not quite half, but a fair number are English-speaking students. And so it's exciting to see that kind of educational opportunity for Urbana students.
What is the difference between the early childhood classes and the Head Start classes?
Oh, that's a good question too. Yeah, Head Start, there are a couple differences. Head Start is a different funding source. It's a federal funding source that's targeted just at Head Start. Our early childhood program has a combination of those. And in fact, there's been a long-standing partnership between our early childhood center and the local Champaign County Head Start. That's been a very positive program. And what we serve that's a little bit different is we serve all of the students that are identified as having special needs, and whether it's a developmental delay or any other kind of special need, those students are served by our early childhood program as part of our funding source. But there is quite a bit of overlap, and we have students that are in our program for half a day and in the Head Start program for half a day. I think both are very valuable resources for our community.
Head Start meets out at primarily out at Brookins, right?
I believe that they are, their main location right now, I believe, is down in Savoy now. And so most of the students get bused down to Savoy. I don't know how big their program is at their Urbana site anymore.
Or Rantoul either.
Yes, they actually have one up at Rantoul as well. But a lot of the Champaign and Urbana students are now being served at Savoy for Head Start.
Down in the building down there.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the school resource officers at the Urbana Middle School and at the Urbana High School? How many do they have at each site, and has crime gone down since they've been in place since maybe early 90s? Has it gone down?
Well, that's a really good question, and actually there's the school resource officer is an officer that's actually an Urbana police officer who is assigned as part of his or her duties to the schools, and so it's just actually a part-time position for an Urbana police officer. And right now, Timothy McNaught is our current resource officer. He's been with us for I want to say 5 or 6 years now. I'm not exactly sure. And so he doesn't spend his whole day at either building. He has other duties with Urbana Police, and but he's kind of our first point of contact. He does spend time in the schools. It's a great connection because it provides students an opportunity to interact with an Urbana police officer in ways other than just negative that are out there on the street if there's a police call, and that helps both our students and our families and Urbana Police provide a safer and more secure environment, not just in the schools but also out in the community as well.
So the schools are safer now.
Well, I would say that that's definitely one of the programs that we'll put in place to make sure that our schools are safer, and I think it has contributed to that as well.
And they still have hall monitors at the middle school and at the senior.
We still have. We call them student resource SRS, student resource services. That's not quite it. It's SRSs. But yeah, they're essentially hall monitors that that again, it's another adult in the building who watches out for students, provides supports for students, but also monitors the hallways to make sure that they're safe and that students are in class when they need to be in class.
Okay, one last question for you. I'm going to throw a two-part one.
Okay.
Had the juvenile program, Del Ryan, last October was appointed to lead the juvenile drug program here in Champaign County. And also Judge Jeff Ford. Has their caseload gone down from the Urbana people since these officers have been in? Has their caseload gone down, or is it about the same?
Well, I can't talk about their caseload specifically. That would be a question more for Urbana Police or the juvenile court system people. But I will say that we've made a really concerted effort in Urbana to work with groups like the Access Initiative, and they are a great organization that provides kind of a linkage between the schools, the court system, community resources, to provide supports for families and students that are struggling with issues. And I do know, because I serve on the board of the Access Initiative, the Access Coordinating Council, I do know that all of those initiatives are working hard to collect data about that, about, is it being successful? Are we seeing success? And anecdotally, I would say that yes, we are seeing a lot more support for our families and students who are struggling.
Is it a county-wide program, or is it just?
Access Initiative is a county-wide program as well.
It's probably been in for a while.
It's a grant-funded program that has been around. I believe we're entering the 4th year of our grant. It's a 6-year grant, and we're in year 4 right now.
Don, anything else to add?
No, I really appreciate the time, and I look forward to talking to anyone out there. Please visit our website, contact me, or have me back on if you have other questions.
Don Owen, thank you very much for being my guest today.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jackson. It was great being here.
My guest has been Don Owen, the Assistant Director of Curriculum, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum for the Urbana School District 116. I'm Brian Jackson. Thank you very much for joining us for In Focus.